Hello everyone. Myself Dr. M. Madhavi, Professor of Mechanical Engineering, MVSR Engineering College, Hyderabad, and my colleague Mr. K. Karthik Rajshekhar, Assistant Professor of Mechanical Engineering, MVSR Engineering College, Hyderabad, jointly presenting lesson number 2 of Computing Mechanisms of Machinery. The contents of this presentation are taken from Kinematics of Machines by Roland T. Hinkle, and the presentation is designed for undergraduate engineering students. The contents of this particular lesson are resolvers, inverters, squaring, integration, differentiation, 4-bar linkages, schematic design covered. Resolvers. The name of this mechanism is derived from the section as a resolver of a vector displacement into its rectangular components. Let us understand the mechanism with the schematic sketch. This mechanism comprises of gear and pinions, rack and pinion, slotted linkages of transmission type. Now, coming to the working principle of this particular mechanism. The mechanism majorly comprises of gear B, named as gear B, which gets the driving motion from gear C through an input source of shaft S2. Now, this gear in turn has a slot on which a rack and pinion are operated. Now, there are two slotted linkages placed in vertical and horizontal positions and pivoted at this particular point on gear B. The slotted linkages in turn are machined as racks and pinion at the bottom of the slotted linkages for both the vertical as well as the horizontal linkages. Now the major objective here is to maintain the distance constant from a pivot center to the pinion center and give rotation to gear B. This in turn will produce resolved components as r cos theta and r sin theta as a translation motion for the rack and pinion of a slotted linkages. You can see the output as x is equal to r cos theta in horizontal position and y is equal to r sin theta for a vertical position. So there are two outputs for one input. The input is the rotation of gear B. So how do you obtain the rotation of gear B? Maintaining R as constant. That's the working principle of this particular mechanism. So the magnitude of vector R here is to be held constant by holding shaft S1. You can see shaft S1 here, and that is fixed. And there is an orientation given to S2 by turning the shaft S2 through some power source. Now, for this R to remain constant, it is essential that the gear A turn the table or gear B to prevent the rack from rolling on gear A and changing the value of R. That means to maintain R constant, it is important that the gear A turns the gear B and prevent the rack from rolling on gear A. For this to happen, this particular mechanism can be accomplished by using a differential gear, the bevel gear. Now let us understand the mechanism in two parts. First one is, let shaft S1 be fixed and shaft S2 is turned. When shaft S2 is turned, gear B is driven by gear C. Look at this figure. The gear B is driven by gear C. The gear C in turn is held on shaft S2. And this reduction is of 2 to 1. At the same time, gear E, this is gear E. Gear E, which is fastened to the arm of the differential, turned by gear D, is turned by gear D in the same direction as gear B, but only half as far. So E and B are turned in the same direction, but only as half as far. Now with shaft S1 fixed, gear G, which turns gear A will also turn twice as far as gear E. Will also turn as far as gear E. So shaft S1 is held stationary, and the rotation of shaft S2 will cause gear A to turn with gear B. So gear A and gear B will turn together. Thereby you can maintain R as constant. So when R is constant and gear B is rotated with theta distance, so then you get two outputs, one as X, which is R cos theta in a linear motion, and Y as R sin theta in another linear motion. Now with shaft S2 fixed, any turning of shaft S1, now this time you fix S2, and any turning of S1 will turn gear A to an equal amount in opposite direction. This will drive the rack to move in the slot, and thereby R changes, varies. It can be increased or decreased. Thereby the output value X and Y also varies. You can understand it better with an animation of this particular mechanism. You can see the gears motion. The gear C gets input from shaft S2, and then it is transmitted to gear B. From this, since this is pivoted, all three are pivoted together, the slotted linkages will try to produce motions, linear motions, in both in X and as well as in Y direction, of magnitude equal to the resolved component, that is R cos theta and R sin theta. So this is the animation of a precision rack type component. You can see the actual model of this precision rack type component. This is the gear B, and gear A is inside this, fixing the radius R, and they get the power input from gear C. This is gear C getting the power input. You can observe that two outputs, one is called X here, which is having a rack and pinion, having a linear motion in horizontal direction, as a resolved component value as R cos theta. Similarly, in Y, which is also a resolved component of R sin theta, has a vertical motion on a rack and pinion mechanism. Courtesy of General Precision Lab. The next mechanism is based on inverter. Inverter is nothing but the reciprocal operation. To understand this, look at the mechanism. It's a 6-bar link mechanism. You have one fixed link, and a slotted lever pivoted at this fixed link 1. It has two slots here, one slot here, another slot here. Then there are slotted, here you have a slotted linkage in this. Link 3 and link 5 are inserted so that they can reciprocate inside the slots of 2 and linkage. Now this particular link 3 will also move on link 4, where link 4 is a ramp that can slide up and down on rollers. Similarly, link 6 can also slide over the rollers in horizontal position. The constraints of this mechanism are: link 1 is fixed, and the distance between the horizontal axis and the pivot center is E is also fixed. Similarly, the distance between the axis of this RAM and the pivot center F is also fixed. So E and F are fixed. Now to obtain this reciprocal operation, let X be the input, X be the input, that is the distance traveled, then Y will be the output. So our aim is to obtain the reciprocal of these two parameters, variables, two variables. What is X? X is the distance from the slider center to the pivot center. Similarly, Y is the distance from the center of the slider to the center of this pivot center. Both X and Y are variables. Now, if you can form a triangle in this, like you can observe, you can form two triangles on this particular geometry. You can form this one triangle where E and X are two edges, and you can form one more triangle on this with Y and F as another edges. So these two triangles happen to be similar triangles. So in a similar triangle, you compare the ratios. The ratios are X by E is equal to F by Y, or X is equal to EF by Y. If E and F are constants, and if you can maintain that product of this EF as unity, then X and Y are reciprocal to each other. Yes, X and Y are reciprocal to each other. Now let us see the motion of this particular mechanism. You can see about this pivot, linkage 2 is rotating, and the input is given to the slider, which slides this RAM here in the X direction. Then you can observe that. We can observe that the motion of this one is Y direction, happen to be the reciprocal of the input direction. So this is what is the animation of inverter. Coming to the third mechanism, that is squaring. Squaring is slight modification of the previous mechanism. See here you have three RAMs, that is link 2, link 7 and link 5. And you have sliders 6 and 3 pivoted on 7 and 2 respectively. And this link 2, or previously called 4 now, is a slotted link, is kept in a bent form, in a bent shape or a V shape, pivoted at point D. Now let us say that X1 and X2 are two inputs, which are the distances from the axis of the vertical axis of the RAM to the slider center on both sides. And then Y is the distance between the axis of the horizontal RAMs to the pivot center here. Y happens to be the output. Now you can see there's a triangle CDB, a right angle triangle, in which you can again divide it to two triangles, and they happen to be similar triangles. Now if you can again compare the ratios of these two triangles, you have Y by X1 is equal to X2 by Y, or Y square is X1 into X2, or Y is square root of X1 into X2. So the output is the squaring of the product of two inputs. Output is the squaring of product of two inputs. So you can obtain a mechanism with this particular operation. Now let us see the animation of this operation. You can see these two, X1 and X2, coming together, then Y is coming in downward direction. If X1 and X2 are going away from each other, then the RAM moves in upward direction. The integration. Integration is another mechanism based upon two classic disk integrators. So one comprises of smooth disk, that is named as 2, rotated by an input variable theta. and an output disk 3, which is perpendicular to and spring loaded against disk 2. The radial displacement of disk 3 from the center line of rotation of disk 2 is the input variable, that is y. Input variable, that is y. You can see a 3D mechanism here. Now, assuming perfect rolling is happening between disk 2 and disk 3, perfect slipping as disk 3 moves radial along disk 2. The arc y is equal to d theta, y is equal to d theta that is obtained here is equal to r into dw, r into dw on this disk 3. So I can write this as r into dw is equal to y into d theta, or dw is equal to 1 by r y d theta. So w is equal to 1 by r integral y d theta. The value 1 by r is known as the integrator constant. Integrator constant. So let us see the animation of this particular one. You can see the disk 2 rotating through some power source, and then disk 3 is rolling on this disk 2 radially in outward direction, in turn connected to a lead screw mechanism, thus obtaining some translatory motion. Now, the disadvantage of two-disk integrator is that the output torque is limited by the frictional force between the disks. So, the two requirements for good operation is opposed now. This objection is largely overcome in the design of the ball disk integrator shown below. So, what we need to, we have to slightly modify this mechanism. In place of disk 3 there, we replace it with cylinder, spring loaded on either side. Now, the connection between disk 2 and disk 3 is via the ball disks 4 and 5. You can see the 3D model of this. This is the same as disk 2, which gets the input source from some motor, and disk 3 is the output, that now it is in the form of a cylinder. So the motion is transmitted through the balls which are placed inside this particular mechanism. Now look at the photo picture of ball and disk integrator. So this is disk 2. This is disk 2, which gets the power from disk drive shaft here, connected to a motor. So the power gets from here to disk, and via this ball disk integrators, the motion is transmitted to the cylinder through this roller shaft, and this ball carriage also gets displaced, having a linear motion. So the disk 3 is replaced by the roller, which is driven by disk 2 through idler balls 4 and 5. There is then rolling action when the balls are shifted radially on disk 2. This permits a larger output torque. That's the major advantage, which can be obtained by increasing the spring force between 2 and 3. The next mechanism is based on differentiation. The general problem of differentiating one variable with respect to another is solved by reversing an integrator. But this does not yield a theoretically exact solution. So let us understand this concept using one mechanism. The figure here represents a mechanism based on differentiation. This mechanism comprises of driving shafts S1 and S2, where S1 input is given as Y rotations, and for S2 input rotations are X. The S1 shaft holds a differential bevel gear mechanism. Gear A and gear B happen to be bevel gears. Also carries arm gear and rack. This mechanism can be viewed in its position in a top view, where arm gear has a radius of r and rotates with pi radians per second. Then the rack will have an initial velocity of linear motion where dw is somewhere around 5.18 inch per second, assuming. This another end of the rack is connected to a ball carriage which comprises of two idler balls. the bottom ball rolls on disk 2. This disk 2 in turn is getting motion from shaft S2 with X input rotation. The motion that is transmitted from disk 2 to bottom idler ball is further transmitted to top ball, and this allows link 3, that is the cylinder, to roll about its axis. One end of the cylinder is held in a bearing, a spring-loaded constraint. The other end is carrying another set of bevel gears, and the motion from here is transmitted to a gear and pinion, which has 1:2 gear ratio. And this in turn transmits the power to bevel gear B. Now let us understand the working mechanism of this particular kinematics. The required derivative here will be W. Here W is the displacement of ball carriage from the central position of the shaft S2 towards radially outwards on table 2. So W is the output, whereas X and Y are the inputs. Now W here is the derivative, that is W is equal to dy by dx. That is, the derivative is the ratio of the instantaneous speeds of shafts S1 and S2, which is expressed by the position W of the ball carriage. Now here, trying to understand its working principle, the spider or arm here, the spider or arm of the differential is used to drive the ball carriage, and this ball carriage either mechanically or through a servo system. Here in this case, rack and pinion is used as for a mechanical source, and the ball carriage is attached to this rack 6, which is driven by the gear that is attached to the differential arm. Now when shafts S1 and shaft S2 are turned, the rotations of gear A and gear B will cause the arm gear to move the rack until a position is reached which produces equal speeds but opposite directions of rotation for gears A and B. Now, how does this happen? This happens when shaft S1 will rotate with Y, and that in turn will rotate gear A, and this gear A will turn arm gear and rack with some motion. Simultaneously, S2 is rotated with X rotation, and this is transmitted through the table to the ball carriage. So the ball carriage is now having a differential speed. One is through rack, the other one will be through shaft S2. So this motion is nothing but W. Now, coming to this W cylinder, the cylinder in turn will rotate the bevel gears, and through this 1:2 gear ratio will transmit motion to bevel B. Now the bevel B gear will also rotate, and this motion will be completed until this produces equal speeds but opposite directions of rotations for gears A and B. Now at this time, the position W of the carriage is a measure of the ratio of the speeds S1 and S2. And that we can see in the form of mathematical expressions as W is equal to dy by dx, and this position of W of the ball carriage in terms of the differential inputs is given as y minus integral W dx. So W is equal to y minus integral W dx. That net effect of the speeds of this is the displacement. That is equal to W by K. Now, if you integrate this with respect to dx, then the expression changes as dy by dx is equal to W plus 1 by K dW by dx, where K is called a scale factor. Now, the above equation can be rewritten in the form of dW by W minus dy by dx is equal to minus K dx, just rearranging the terms. Now, for the case of dy by dx is constant, we can integrate giving this as logarithmic value of W minus dy by dx is equal to minus Kx plus C1, where C1 is a constant. Now, finally, substituting with the constraints of the given condition, then we can obtain in output displacement W as an integral form dy by dx, it is the ratio of the inputs plus c into e to the power of minus kx. So c can be obtained from the input conditions of the mechanism. So this is how a mechanism can be developed based upon the differentiation operation. Then there is another set of mechanism which is the simplest, more practically feasible and widely used mechanisms. Those are 4-bar linkages. Now the linkages are relatively inexpensive to construct, are positive in action, and have essentially no backlash if preloaded ball bearings are used. Now let us understand this mechanism. This will have comprises of 4 links. Link A, link B, link C, link D. So this to happen as a kinematic mechanism, one link has to be fixed and input is given to one link, and through the coupler link C, output is considered for link D. Now link B is allowed to have a range of XS and XF, where XS is the start angle of the input link and XF will be the end angle of input link. So if phi is the input angle. So similarly, if YS and YF will be the start angle of the output link and the end angle of the output link, where Xi is the output link angle. Now, to understand this better, this combination of linkages and link proportions and input angles and start and output end of the input and output angles are charted in a tabular form in this way. So to understand this, you have a linkage number, means the function of that particular output link, the range of the motion of this input link, then the net angle of the input link, net angle of the output link, and x1 is the first precision point. Then you have link angles phi 1, xi 1, phi s, xi s as the and link proportions b by a, c by a, d by a, then is the maximum error degrees. What do you mean by maximum error? Maximum error here means the structural error minus the ideal angle. So it is basically the difference between the ideal angle and the structural angle, which happens, structural angle happens based on structural error. So that difference is what is called maximum error. That is a permissible error of the output link. Now let us see, suppose linkage number 1. Linkage number 1 means it comprises of 4 links arranged such a way that the output link is a logarithmic function. The output link D is a moves for a logarithmic function. Then the range of this input angle or scale will be 1 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 2. Then the net difference of this particular input angle, that is the start and the end, is 60 degrees. Similarly, for the output, it is 60 degrees. Suppose you are taking the first precision point, x1, some in between xs and xf. x1 is something in between xs and xf. That means in between this range, 1 and 2. Then you can measure the angles of this, input angles, output angles. Then these are the proportions, link proportions. You are fixing it for a particular value. Then this is the maximum error degrees. Then you can obtain a linkage which gives us an output, a logarithmic function. Similarly, you have many other functions. You have another combination of proportions of linkages and angles so that the output link can give you sin x. Then another linkage number 3, output can give you tan x with some this set of values. With if you can arrange with this set of values, you can obtain a output linkage of tan x. Similarly, exponential of x, then reciprocal of x. We have seen previously the reciprocal of x with some linkages and slaughters and slotted links, ramps and all, isn't it? Reciprocal. But here you can obtain the same using only 4 bar linkages. Similarly, x to the power of 1.5. Then there is x square. We have already studied x square also in the form of some links, gears and all that. That here you can avoid all those mechanical elements and design a 4 bar linkage in order to obtain an output as x square. Then you have x to the power of 2.5, x cube, x square, minus logarithmic of x, minus log 10 of x, then plus log 10 of x. Here these two varies with input angles. There is a feasibility of obtaining the same output with a different proportions and different range of angles. Okay, there is x 10 x log x, then x to the power of 1.5 is also another set. You have seen this x to the power of 1.5 here. What varies between these two is majorly the linkage proportions. Linkage proportions and the maximum error not minimized is another important aspect for these output linkages. Now, let us understand each one of them. Suppose you take the first preliminary one. This is the motion. This is the fixed link, and this is the input link. This is the coupler link, and this is the output link. So once the input link is given some motion here, then through the coupler link, an output link will have certain amount of motion, and that can be can be any function. You can derive any particular function. Now let us see for link number 2. Link number 2, here the output link, that is a D will derive a sine function. So let us first understand. This is the link A as usual. This is link B, link C, link D. If we can arrange this linkage, 4 bar linkage with a specific set of input angles and link proportions, and then with a specific set of output angles and give motion input for the link B, then link D will derive a path which is a sine function. Will derive a path which is a sine function. We can see just the motion of this particular linkages. So this is one form of linkage. Then you have link number 6. Number 6 will have an output function as x to the power of 1.5. So again, based on the table chart, whatever we have shown you, you consider the linkage proportions, input angles and output angles. You can obtain the path traced by the link D, this one. The path traced by the link D will be x to the power of 1.5. So you can see the motion of this clearly. The path traced by the link 4 can be x to the power of 1.5. Then comes link number 10. This is a special case. This differs from the other in that both the negative and positive branches, these positive and positive branches of the function are generated. This is something typical. You can see one above and the other below. In all the other cases, you can see all the linkages either being in below the fixed link or above the fixed link. But in this particular case, you observe that both this one is a positive, the other one is a negative with respect to fixed link. It is usually difficult to generate a function of this type with a small error. The error in this case can be around 2.31 degree. Usually all errors are limited less than 1. But to obtain such a thing, you have to accept an error of 2.31 degrees. So this is a fixed link. You give input to this. The path traced by the input link is this. This is this for the given range of angle. Then the path traced of the D will be this, will be C1, C2. So that path will be generated an expression of x square. You can see that. So if the motion is given in this form, you can obtain the x square path. Then the next important mechanism is schematic design. Schematic design. This is another form of kinematic mechanisms. Here, the design of a computer is usually started as a simple block diagram, which shows the order in which the mathematical operations are to be performed. Now, suppose here in this, we consider an equation. Based on the equation, we develop block diagrams, and based on the block diagrams, you design a mechanism. Here, mechanism comprises of various mechanical elements like cams, gears, rack and pinion, linkages, etc. Okay, this is the pattern what we follow in the schematic design. Now, let us take the most fundamental equation of motion of a displacement. That is, displacement is half acceleration times square plus initial velocity into time. So S is equal to half AT square plus V naught T. Now this expression can be written in two forms, two other forms. What are those? One, you can write the same expression as S is equal to A into T by 2 plus V naught into T, taking T as common. The second form is S is equal to A by 2 plus V naught by T into T square. So you can write the same equation of motion in two different forms. Okay. Now, we will represent the same thing in the form of block diagrams. Okay. The first expression, let us take, what is the first expression? S is equal to AT square by 2 plus V naught D. This we are now representing the form of block diagrams. The block, each block consists of the mathematical operation. Suppose one is square, SQ means square. This means multiplication. This is addition. In this, then you also have division. Okay, so these are the blocks operating the mathematical operation. Now let us, how do you arrive to this with the blocks? Now for a square operation block, you send the input as T. Then the T, it will give the output as T square. Now this T square is an input to this block and another input as A by 2. Put together, you get it as AT square by 2. Now simultaneously, you give two more inputs like T and V naught to this multiplication block. Put together, an output of V naught T comes out. This V naught T and AT square by 2 as inputs enter into addition block and come out as S, that is displacement, AT square by 2 plus V naught T. So this is one form of writing a block diagram for the given expression. Now let us see the B part. What is the equation for B part? S is equal to AT by 2 plus V naught T. Now this A by 2 and T are two inputs sent into multiplication block and that gives you AT by 2. AT by 2 and V naught being two inputs for addition block giving rise to AT by 2 plus V naught. Now you add T as another input to it, giving you S is equal to AT by 2 plus V naught into T. Now the third expression, S is equal to A by 2 plus V naught by T into T square. You get it as T as one input, V naught is another input. Because it is a division, it gives you V naught by T. Then A by 2 another input, both put together as A by 2 plus V naught by T. So simultaneously there is another, this block having square operation in it and send T in it to it gives you T square, and this T square is given as an input to a multiplication block. Taking the above expression, it gives you S is equal to A by 2 plus V naught by T into T square. So likewise, we have three different block diagrams for the same output. For the same output, we are getting three different block diagrams. Now, comparing these three, what we understand here is the arrangement C requires a divider, a multiplier, a squaring device, and an adding mechanism. So totally 4 blocks are required. Arrangement A also requires the same number of components. Okay, but the divider is replaced by a multiplier. This is an advantage because if the range T begins at 0, then the division by a number close to 0 results in a large value of the answer. If you divide any number with 0, it goes as infinity, isn't it? It's an absurd value. And this creates serious mechanical difficulties in this arrangement A. No such problems arises with multiplication by 0. If you multiply anything by 0, it becomes 0 because the answer is 0. So this can be avoided. Division block can be avoided. Now coming to arrangement B. Arrangement B uses only 3 blocks. This is that is on multiplication and addition. 3 blocks, but that eliminates the squaring device in this squaring device. Therefore, complexity is reduced compared to A. Then B appears to be the most favorable approach on the basis of block diagram analysis and should be chosen for the first preliminary design. So among all the three, B is the best approach in designing a mechanism. Physical mechanism with mechanical components or models, which gives you an output of W is equal to square root of T square minus V square. Okay. Now here T and V are inputs and the range of V is from 0 to 5. And the range of T is from 5 to 15. Now how do you solve this? As I said, the procedure, first one is write different forms of that expression, represent them in the form of a block diagram, and then design the mechanism. So the first step goes, the same expression, W is equal to square root of T square minus V square, we can express in 2 different forms again. That is W is equal to V square root T square minus V square minus 1. So the final result is same. Or W is equal to square root of T minus V into T plus V. Okay. Now, the same expressions again we are representing in the form of expression block diagrams. So the output is square root of T square minus V square for anything. That is, send T into square block, getting T square. And similarly, V into square block, V square, use a subtraction operation for a block. Then I'm getting T square minus V square. Then go for a square root block, giving you square of T square minus V square. It's a very simple one. Now look at this B part. B part, V and T as a division, T by V. Send it to square, T by V whole square, minus scale factor, offset. So that gives you minus. Take square root. This is becoming square root. Multiply with V, getting V into T square minus V square minus 1. So it is a little complex, having different types of blocks. And also in the middle, you have to use scale offset. That will lead to some mechanical errors. The part, then coming to C block, you have again T as the input for addition block as well as subtraction block, and V is the common input. So either you get T minus V and T plus V. These two are again sent to a multiplication block, giving you T minus V into T plus V. This sent into square root block, giving you square root of T minus V into T plus V. So these are the 3 forms of blocks. But here, the arrangement B must be discarded because of the division by 0. Again, the same problem. If you divide by 0, the values becomes very large and very difficult to have to handle those in the mechanical components. Their arrangement at C can be mechanized, but multiplication is relatively complex and should be avoided if possible. So the first arrangement shown is the simplest one to mechanize and will be chosen for this example. So whatever mechanism we are going to design now is based upon the block of A, where you have only square, subtraction, and square root. Okay, so 3 varieties of mechanisms we are seeing here. That, see, one solution. I'll show you two types of solutions for the same equation. The first solution is using cams. So you can use two cams here. One cam motion, the motion of one cam represents the time. The motion of another cam represents the v. So this motion of cam will result an output of t square. When it completes its 360 degrees rotation, the output will come in the form of t square. And the output of this cam will come in the form of v square. Now, when these two are simultaneously given to a link, which is a follower type, they take the differential of these two, obviously. That is t square minus v square. So the middle link here, which happens to be a rack attached to a pin gear, rack and gear mechanism, rolls with a differential value of t square and v square. So the motion of this rack is t square minus v square. That much value it reciprocates. Now when this meshes with this, the motion is transmitted to another direction. This is happening in a vertical direction. Now we are getting it to a horizontal direction, wherein you put a square root cam. This is the path traced on this is a square root cam attached to a follower here. So the value of this will lead to the reciprocation motion of rack, which is square root of t square minus v square. And this through the gear is read on the scale. That value will be w. But that w value will be square root of t square minus v square. So you put some value of t here as 5 seconds, v as 10 meter per second, then you get a w of square root of 5 square minus 10 square as a w. Okay, then of course you should take the positive values. Then you get a w indicating on the scale. So this is how a mathematical expression can be used to draw block diagrams, and from the block diagrams you can design a mechanical mechanism with components. The next one is the most versatile used, as I said, linkage mechanisms. Linkage mechanisms, because of its simplicity in its design. This linkage mechanism actually comprises 3 sets of 4-bar linkages. This is set A. This is one set. This is set B. This is another set of 4-bar linkage. Then you have set C, another set of 4-bar linkage. Now, if you look at this, it has A, B, C, and D. Four links. 4-bar linkage is 4 links, where A is a fixed link. And the input link B and C are collinear, and the link B is connected to a graded scale, and that happens to be velocity V. And graded from 0 to 5. Now, the output scale D is graded from 0 to 25 because the output should be the square of the input. In this particular set of linkage I'm talking about. So if V is this, means I need V square. So from 0 to 5 means it is 0 to 25. So the output will, whatever output is given, it is obtained as a V square value. So you give some rotation based upon the gear linkage ratios, you obtain this. Based on the linkage ratios and input angles, you obtain this. So how do you get this? You please recall the table what we have seen previously, x square table. The function output should be square. So for that, what are the required input angles? What is the range of angles motion? Then what is the precision angle? Then what are the proportions of linkages? And what is the maximum error? Based on that, you need to design these 4 links, so that you obtain V square. Now, when you go back to linkage set B, the same exercise. Here, A is fixed, B is this, but C and B are not collinear here. C acts as a coupler link here totally. Then it is a D is the output. But here the input is T, time. The time goes from 0 to 15 units. Then that output link will give you 0 to 225 as a T square value. As a T square value. So here the path driven by the D is again the square of the input value. There's a square of the input value. Now, we need to use a differential gear here, a differential gear, so that all this run on the same shaft or power driven mechanism, such that the differential value of V square and T square is transmitted to the linkage C. So, using a bevel gear differential, the differential value of V square and T square is transmitted to linkage C via idler gear. Now coming to linkage C, it again comprises of 4 linkages: link A, link B, link C, link D, and as usual link A is fixed. Now here the input angle is D. The input angle is D. That it is getting this input angle from the differential gearbox, that is T square minus V square. Now, what is the output? You need square root of. So, you have to design the linkages based upon the square root function from that chart. Considering the linkage proportions, input angles, output angles, range of those angles, etc. You design the linkages such that your output is given by the B as a square root of T square minus V square. Square root of T square minus V square. So this is how a mathematical expression of W is equal to square root of T square minus V square can be converted in the form of a mechanism. Look at this. This is a typical linkage computer which has many links like this linkage A, linkage B, linkage C combinations here, taking T and V as inputs, converting them as T square and V square, and through the differential gearbox, sending it to the another set of linkages, and finally deriving square root of T square minus V square. So this is how a mechanism is designed based on a mathematical expression.